cactus needs some nourishment.
You are an absolute vision of beauty this morning.
Don't make me laugh.
Hi, I'm Pineapple. I've been traveling the roads and the rails for about 5 years. My mission in life is to find an alternative to all the fear, hatred, and control. So I sold my house, sold my truck, quit my job, grabbed a backpack, left my shoes at home, and I started wandering the earth, searching for truth. We often get confused and think that there are multiple truths. There is only one truth. Everything else is a mistruth. So if you're feeling in your heart fear, ambiguity, worry, stress, dealing with what-if scenarios of the past or the future, just let it go. You're responsible for yourself. You're responsible for your words, how your emotions affect other people, how your words affect other people. And even though we mess up sometimes, we're always in the right place at the right time. Sometimes we have to go through an incredible amount of pain and trauma to get where we thought we were and where we wanted to go. Years and years down the road, you'll realize that after the universe took every single thing from you, you wouldn't change it for the world. Because we don't know how to get the best view at the top of the mountain, but we know there's several different routes. And if you take the time to look, be aware, see the bigger picture, you can find the path of least resistance. And when you do, you'll be free.
Oh my gosh, you brought tears to my eyes.
Yes,
Wow. So how long have you been traveling?
I've been traveling for about 4 years now. I hop freight trains, I hitchhike, I ride on buses and vans, cars, trucks, boats, planes, anything to get around. I truly believe, for myself personally, in my heart, that new experiences is at the core of human experience. And when we find new experiences and we meet new people and we go to new places, we are measuring the world. And when we do, we see that it's not so big of a place. And when we fill in the blanks, that unknown stops coming back into our mind as this haunting question of what is it? What's out there? Who are we? Because when we find ourselves, we realize that we're just a reflection of everyone that we meet. Everyone, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, no matter what city you're in, is all just living an archetype of someone else that you know. And that's why it's really important, for me at least, to be able to navigate this world and play by its rules while still maintaining my authentic expression of self. Because my authentic expression of self is not to work a 9-to-5 job at McDonald's. I used to be a logistics manager. I used to have 3 jobs. I used to make money. I had a brick house. I had, suburban living. And I walked away from all of it because it wasn't fulfilling. It lacked substance. And I'm happier now in a backpack sleeping in the woods for the last 5 years, just traveling around the United States, than I was working 20 hours in 2 days or whatever, because it's just a cycle. It's just a cycle that helps other people try to have more time to figure it out, when really, like, there's so much food, there's so much water, there's so much to go around that we don't need. Well, I don't need a house, I don't need a car, I don't need to pay insurance, like I don't need any of these things. What I need is food, water, and shelter, and I need community. It's one of the things that I found that was most lacking in my life was community. Having, being a 25-year-old individual with 3 friends in my life, while working more hours than I was doing anything else, that's not life, that's slavery, that's indentured servitude. You're trading every hour of your life. Let me tell you something. The only thing that I've found to be actual currency in this life is the things that we pay attention to and spend our time learning. Like what we spend our time doing and what we pay attention to. Those are the only currencies that matter. Those are the only things that we can take with us that aren't material, is experience, actual experience. And experience breeds wisdom. Wisdom is something that you try to imbue onto other people because you've learned from your mistake and you're trying to help them get to where you are, so you don't have to see someone make the same mistake you did and hurt the same people that you hurt in the same way that you did. Because whether we believe it or not, trauma stems from childhood. And if we don't question our motives and our actions and why we do the things that we do and the way that we do them, we are doomed to repeat these cycles of nonsense. Gaslighting, lying, manipulating, all those things are psychological reflexes that children do, that if we don't question and learn from, we end up hurting adults. Because some child that will gaslight and manipulate is putting trauma onto another child who then in adulthood, if they get gaslit and manipulated, they will have a triggered response, and that will cause pain and so chaos. And so if you really want to heal yourself, if you really want to heal the earth, start taking responsibility for your energy, your words, your emotions, your actions, how you interact and affect other people, how those people will interact and affect, like everything is connected. Absolutely everything is connected. If you are having a bad day and you say, fuck you to somebody, you never know how far that hate and that pain and that negativity can go. Equally, if you say, hey, I hope you have a really good day, maybe that person isn't going to kill themselves now. Maybe that person isn't going to beat their wife or their kid or their dog anymore. Maybe that person is going to change what they were doing because you were just positive. And maybe that's proanoia. It's like the opposite of paranoia. I don't know, but I tend to believe that if you are responsible and take time to do what you feel is the right thing and to speak the truth, not your truth, but the truth, everyone heals and everyone benefits.
What do you think some paths that people might be able to take to not just work towards that, but I don't know.
It starts with spiritual integrity. Integrity is what you do when no one is around. And spiritual integrity is what you think about when you know you can't get caught. Do you lie to yourself in your internal dialogue? Are you manipulating yourself? Are you lying to yourself? Because I'm just as guilty of lying to myself as every other human being, but I'm sick of it. I don't want to lie to myself. I don't want to be this person that is just reacting. I want to be a person who is an adult that can respond. And when we choose to respond by having spiritual integrity or the integrity of self, if you don't lie to yourself, you cannot stand someone who is around you bullshitting. It's just you because you've worked so hard not to bullshit yourself, not to lie to yourself.
Yeah.
Not to
I
do
know what you're
all
saying.
the things that that you go to therapy for, and that you lose partners over, and that you have failed relationships because of. And so if you're completely sick of your own BS and you want to grow and get better, but you don't have the necessary tools to do so, then that's fine. All you can do is try, just experiment, If something, and here's the thing about spiritual integrity, is that your intuition will let you know if you're lying to yourself. It's immediate, and this isn't a matter of morality either. People aren't bad or good or right or wrong or whatever. It's just about responsibility. And if you want to be more responsible, if you want to have more discipline, you will have more freedom. Because when someone comes up to you, and especially me as someone that walks around on the street and looks, homeless, people are always screaming, "Get a job, you bum."
Do they really?
Oh yeah, all the time.
No way.
And like my friends will sit there and they'll get so mad because they've never worked for years and years at a time. And they'll get so mad. And they'll say like, "Oh, man, F that guy. Why would I need a job when I'm out here?" And they're having a conversation with an imaginary person who's 10 miles down the road already. And so what I do is I let that roll off my back like water, right? Like water off a duck's back. Because at the end of the day, when someone hurls an insult or just is being rude, that has absolutely zero to do with you and everything to do with where they're at. And it's called a projection, right? People that have millions and millions and millions of dollars aren't going to take the time to scream out of a window, "Get a job." But people who hate their job, hate their life, hate their wife, hate their truck or whatever, aren't happy with their life situation, are going to hurt people, because hurt people hurt people. And if you take offense to that because you need external validation because you're not internally validating yourself, because you failed to enter into an actual relationship with your with your personhood, to where you are your sense of validation, you are your primary partner, you are your mom, and you are your dad in your internal dialogue. And if all of those different mechanisms are positively encouraging you to do the right thing and to just be an adult, and it doesn't have to be a deep and complex, shanti sort of, vibe. You don't have to go read Sanskrit to do this. All you have to do is take a deep breath, relax, drop into your body, know that you don't know, and that everything, if you so choose, is in the right place at the right time for the highest purpose. And if you choose not to believe that, that's fine. In Islam, there's a belief that Allah does not care morally if you're a bad person or a good person. What Allah does is give you the energy that you sow into the earth. So if you want to sow evil into the earth, it'll feed that energy. It doesn't really care because it's ambivalent. Like it doesn't care. If you want to sow seeds of good, you'll be rewarded with good. And that's just a metaphor for you get in what you get out. If you are eating McDonald's every day, we've all seen Morgan Spurlock Supersize Me.
Yeah.
Bro, it's not going to be healthy. There's only like 3 options that I hear when someone's like, "Oh, I'm going to eat McDonald's for the rest of my life." I'm like, "Oh, you're going to get cancer, you're going to become obese, or you're going to have a heart attack." I'm never going to hear, "Oh, you know what, I just decided that I'm going to eat McDonald's for the next 10 years. I made the cover of Bodybuilding magazine." Like, it's just not going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And having the responsibility and the spiritual integrity to see that and not just be whisked away in your own fantasies as opposed to the reality of the situation, and wrapping your mind up in too complex of ideas, constantly shifts the focus from this moment to an illusion inside your mind. This internal dialogue is really important when we're surviving in the woods and there's no reason for our brains to tell us, "Oh, just keep going, there's water over the next hill." But the fact of the matter is, 10,000 years ago or 50,000 years ago, one of our ancestors or several of our ancestors did that and they survived. And because of that, we have that genetic disposition passed down to us, or at least in my opinion. And nowadays, we don't have to worry about food, water, shelter, survival. And so that mechanism gets hijacked, and you start thinking, oh, I wonder if my girlfriend's cheating on me. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's the same thing. There's no evidence. Well, sometimes there's evidence, but there's no evidence to support these outlandish claims that your ego, and that's what it is, it's your ego. And your ego's not a bad thing. You don't need to kill it. You don't need to try to separate from it. It's a natural part of being alive, just like pooping or peeing. If you have bad or painful bowel movements, you might want to change your diet. You know what I'm saying? And if you have painful spiritual bowel movements, just maintaining the self, then you might want to change your spiritual diet, because the ego is inexorably a part of us. You're never going to kill it. It's like a dog. And if you're trying to have a conversation with yourself and there's just these thoughts just barking at you, rah, 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 50,000 of them a day was what science tells me, 50,000 thoughts a day. That is never going to go away. What is going to happen is your shift in perspective from these clouds passing through your mind, like these thoughts passing through your mind like clouds in the sky, or these thoughts weighing a mountain of stress and anxiety because you just can't let go of them. All of this in here doesn't exist. All of this out here is only the best representation of what this biological computer can make sense of.
Yeah.
And to extrapolate on all the wonderful little nuances and subtleties of life is what the ego loves to do. It loves to crunch and munch problems. But if you ask yourself, after you close your eyes and take a really big, deep breath, I wonder what my next thought will be. Notice a moment of silence in your consciousness, because your consciousness, when it views your ego, the ego is cast a light upon it, and it's like, oh snap, I'm being looked at, because it's a reflex of consciousness, right? It helps us survive, and if we don't control it, it will control us, in my opinion. I'm not a doctor, I'm just a homeless person. Oh boy. I got them blues, the Nashville blues. I got them blues, those Nashville blues. I got them blues, those Nashville blues. I got socks, but I ain't got no shoes. Yeehaw! I'm going to Arkansas. I'm going right back to Arkansas. I'm going right back to Arkansas. That's where I'll find my mom and papa. I'm going to Tennessee. I'm going right back to Tennessee. I'm going right back to Tennessee. The girl that said, "Pull my don't bother." People here, they treat me fine. These people here, they treat me fine. These people here, they treat me fine. They buy me whiskey, they buy me wine.
Amazing. Hey man, yeah, people are gonna love the knowledge you dropped, and it means so much because not everyone's so willing to share. A lot of the people that have, I feel like, a lot of this true knowledge that's not just like stuff you're gonna like go to college for or like read on the internet. I feel like they're less apt to get it out there. So I appreciate you because I feel like there's a light in a manner to do it, and I feel like we got a chance to practice that. So
Absolutely. The less things that we have, the more freedom that we have. Because at the end of the day, the things that we own end up owning us. It's a quote from Fight Club, and I love it because it is so true. The second I stepped away from my house, my home, my car, my job, my security, my safety net, I gained wisdom through experience. And that is not gained just by throwing all your stuff away. It's gained by throwing all your stuff away and learning from it.
Yeah.
I don't think that anybody has to go through the process that I went through in order to learn what I learned. You just have to be objectively aware and stay extremely integral. You have to stay with integrity. You can't lie to yourself. You cannot gaslight yourself. You cannot you just can't lie to yourself. You have to be responsible. And once you are, that shows. Like if you can pick up the vibe of the creepy guy in the room, you can also pick up the vibe of the, I hate the word like awakened or spiritual or ascended or holy, because like all those terms in my mind invoke visions of like ascension. But really the most holiest people on this planet, the most spiritual people on this planet are the ones that are most grounded, the ones that are the calmest, the ones that are the chillest. And when you pick up on that vibe, ask that person a question, because that person has wisdom, because they have dealt with all their bull and come out calm and at peace. And for me, that is my objective.
Yeah.
To find inner peace so that I don't have to wage war in this world of anger and validation and trauma, all this stuff that isn't happening in this moment, in this second, in right now. Yeah, we touch the stove when we're kids. Our moms say, don't touch the stove, don't touch the stove, don't touch the stove. It's hot, and we touch it, and we're like, you were right. And it hurts, and we might cry, and we might get medicine, and we might get yelled at. But what we don't do is walk into every new abode and have the trauma response being triggered like, oh no, there's a stove in here, right? We learn from that mistake, and we move on. Because the only mistakes that we really make are the ones that we don't learn from. And we can stumble and trip and experiment. And I think it was Teddy Roosevelt said, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The worst thing you can do is nothing.
It's nothing, yeah. That's
and
so
the
true.
second best thing you do is the wrong thing. You know what I mean?
But that's so
I
true.
I think I might be getting that.
You're probably adding a nice little touch.
Yeah, dude. It's just one of those things. Like if you're experimenting because you're just trying, like, dude, good job.
Yeah.
Like just take a chance, take a leap. If you are in a calm state of mind and you constantly are dealing with triggers and trauma, right now, if you're in a calm state of mind, go look up some tools. The tools will help, but you have to remember the tools to get over triggering and trauma responses and like all this stuff. If you don't have responsibility and you're not responsible for yourself, you're going to end up being someone like, it's like, oh, I have PTSD. That's why I threatened to mace you. And it's like,
Sounds like an exact experience that happened to you.
yes, it's a very exact experience that happened to
Sorry.
me. I was trying to buy some coffee, and this lady, like we were standing outside of this coffee shop, like me and two friends, they happen to be people of color, and this lady rolled up and was like, you need to get out of here. And we like flashed a 20. We're like, no, we literally just want to buy coffee from a local, not Starbucks. Like we just want coffee. She's like, I don't feel safe. Get out of here. We're like, oh, okay, like we'll get out of here. And we started walking, and like the lady just kept saying stuff. And at one point she was like, you know what, screw this, I'm about to just mace you guys. And I was like, listen lady, there's 101 ways to do things, but being rude is the least effective. And she said, you know what, I'm calling the police. And the police show up, and I'm standing on a public sidewalk in a public area, having already had left after she asked us to leave. And the cops asked us what went down. And because she threatened us, the cops were like, well, do you want to press charges? Because you guys are she's actually in the wrong right now. And that's what happens when you have an entitlement to your PTSD. And this woman was totally right and valid to be like, hey, do you mind like stepping away right now? There's, you guys are 3 men. I'm a woman. I'm about to open my coffee shop. Like, I don't feel safe. Be like, yeah, no worries. Like, it's all good. Like, we'll give you like ample space to do your thing, because people don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable if they're being genuine. And instead, she took the lack of responsibility route. She said that my trauma trumps my obligation to be responsible and to interact with people in a way that makes her feel whole and complete, because she's acting out of fear. If you're going to own a coffee shop and interact with the public and have PTSD, you need to have tools in order to navigate and overcome these situations that don't result in threatening violence. Because when we're scared and we have that fear triggered, what do we do when we're scared? We start, oh, you're gonna hurt me? Oh, you're gonna hurt me? I'm gonna hurt you. And all this stuff. And it just goes and goes and goes, because you want them to be scared. You want them to know that you're afraid. And we don't do that by saying, hey, you're scaring me right now. I'm afraid, because that's vulnerability, and we aren't vulnerable with each other. What we say is, yeah, you're gonna hurt me. I'm gonna hurt you worse. I'm gonna do worse things to you. I'm gonna, because you're scared. And you're trying to, just like a dog, just bark and show your teeth, because you don't know what to do, because you haven't learned the tools in order to overcome the obstacle, in order to get to the best view. Because that's what we're all trying to do, is get to the best view. Get to the best view on the mountain. If you go climb this mountain, Mount Shasta, right now, and you don't know what you're doing and just pick a random road up, you better know how to rock climb, because it ain't a walking path. But if you pay attention, there is a walking path all the way up the mountain. You don't need ropes. You might need some ice shoes and some other small tools, but you don't need to have skills. You just need to walk, right? And you can get the best view in a 1,000-mile radius from on top of the highest mountain in this area, simply by observing where other people have succeeded and observing where your ability is. Because if you have the ability to rock climb, it doesn't really matter. You can go do whatever you want. But if you don't, because you're normal like the rest of us, you need to take time and observe and witness how other people have succeeded. And you need to take note. Because like there's an old proverb. It says, a normal person learns from their own mistakes. A wise man learns from the mistakes of others. But a fool never learns at all.
Yeah. Do you have a Cash App? Do you want a bunch of people to start following you on like your Instagram? Do you have
Yeah, my Instagram is pineapple letter N WYLO, pineapple and willow. My Cash App is pineapple 211 or 0211, and my Venmo is pineapple 303. You can check me out on Facebook or the Instagrams. I travel around a lot. I like to help people. If you're struggling with mental health or with, trying to get into therapy and, you got like financial encumbrances, like reach out to me if you want. I love to talk. Like, I don't truly believe that anybody is a stranger, because there's a really good chance that whatever you've gone through, I've gone through as well. You've been cold, I've been cold. You've been hungry, I've been hungry. You've experienced trauma, I've experienced trauma. So if you want someone to connect with, and also, like, I won't deal with your bullshit. Like, I love you, and I'm gonna call you out on it as soon as you're like, you just start like, complaining, because like, I don't do that. I don't just like, complain. It's one thing to vent, but I will talk to you and give you advice and listen. But if you just spin your wheels and are doing a burnout in your mind because of whatever issue you're going through and you don't listen, that's symptomatic of the issue. You need to let that go. And so before you ever reach out, just know, like, take a deep breath and just like, okay, we're letting stuff go. We really have to put it to rest. Because if you're carrying that weight of mental trauma with you everywhere, it's crippling. And to be told to let it go is kind of offensive. It really is, because we're attached to it. It's a survival mechanism, right? Because if we understand and analyze the trauma from all the different angles, we know the signs and how to avoid trauma in the future. But here's the thing, suffering is ineffable. We cannot avoid trauma. All we can do is have tools in order to navigate that as an obstacle. And I love you so much, and you're perfect, and you're divine, and you're in the right place at the right time, if you so choose to believe it. And if not, well, enjoy the chaos.
Beautiful. Thank you.